the scene, Charlie. Well?
Ready? Hit it.
And now, here he is, a man of God, living in a world of Disney.
Ow, Charlie!
Charlee Simons.
Charlie bit me.
You are really, especially if you're a Californian, a native Californian like I am, or you grew up here and you moved out, you got away. You're going to love my guest. His name is Randy Economy. Economy? Yes. Economy. Randy Economy. Can't forget that name once you heard it. And he is spearheading the latest and hopefully successful recall of Governor Hairdo, as I lovingly call Gavin Newsom. Governor Hairdo has been disastrous. Absolutely disastrous. He was disastrous as the mayor of San Francisco. So when he announced he was running for governor, I knew just based on that and what he did and the people groups that he sucked up to, he's a trailblazer. He's a progressive. He's a nut. He truly is. With that great gravelly voice. And all the women on the left who adore him and think he's good looking and all that. Man, I read the comments. I follow pages that I wish I didn't have to, but I do so you don't have to. And the way they talk about this psychopath is kind of scary.
Governor, the budget is obviously a paramount process for you and the legislature, and I just want to ask you about something on the other end of the budget on a different topic on public safety. Do you think it looks good to the taxpayer for an assembly member who is also the wife of the Attorney General to lead a committee that oversees his budget and other departments?
I literally don't know what you're referring to.
Assemblymember Mia Bonta is set to lead the Budget Sub-5 Committee on Public Safety. I mean, the Attorney General oversees ethics in the state, distributes ethics training to state officials.
I'm just telling you, I thank you for informing me. The legislature makes their determination. I have no idea.
You don't, is it ethical or
I
not?
don't even know what you're referring to. I'm hearing it for the first time.
Governor, what are you...
I'm hearing it for the first time. Okay, I'm going to show that to you again, and I'm going to expand the picture so you can really see it. And you're thinking, that looks doctored. And who was that dude behind him? Probably a bodyguard, probably one of the assigned thugs to protect that nutbag. And I want you to see this again, because you might think that, oh, that was doctored, or that's AI, or that just looks too weird. That can't be real. This was KCRA Channel 3, which is the #1 most watched news source local television station in Sacramento, the capital of California. KCRA 3 on their YouTube page posted this. Now, it was so weird and so freaky, you'd think that this would make national news and everybody would be airing this, right? No. Heck no, they're not going to. So I want you to watch this again, and I'm going to expand the screen so you can really just see how bizarre this whole thing was.
Governor, the budget is obviously a paramount process for you and the legislature, and I just want to ask you about something on the other end of the budget on a different topic on public safety. Do you think it looks good to the taxpayer for an assembly member who is also the wife of the Attorney General to lead a committee that oversees his budget and other departments?
I literally don't know what you're referring to.
Assemblymember Mia Bonta is set to lead the Budget Sub-5 Committee on Public Safety. I mean, the Attorney General oversees ethics in the state, distributes ethics training to state officials.
I'm just telling you, I thank you for informing me. The legislature makes their determination. I have no idea.
You don't, is it ethical or
I
not?
don't even know what you're referring to. I'm hearing it for the first time.
Governor, what are you...
How these press conferences work is normally there's a fixed camera. You don't want to see the reporters. You want to see the crowd, because usually if the public is invited in any way, it's very selected and it's very small. So they don't want you to see that. I've seen press conferences in front of the Capitol building with Governor Hairdo where there'll be 7 people in the crowd. That's all that showed up. But you never see the crowd. They never show you the crowd. They have a fixed shot, it's called, where you lock down the camera because the governor's going to stay right there behind the podium. So anytime anybody asks any kind of uncomfortable questions, the hand gestures start, and every time, and the more he starts moving and he starts dancing, it's the weirdest thing. So that dude behind him, bodyguard dude, I can pretty much guarantee you that, is supposed to stay out of the shot. And the cameraman at one point had to literally unlock the camera so they could start following Governor Hairdo as he was going back and forth and back and forth. Just bizarre. Here's another fine example of it right here. When this is during the fires down in Los Angeles, when he's doing his little dance. Here it is.
Down in Hawaii, you had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties.
What the heck was that? You want to know how much the media protects him? Good luck finding that video anywhere, especially on YouTube. I had to go to other sources to find just that little clip, and it was really tight. You couldn't see. I wish you could have seen it all. I literally could not find it. It's been scrubbed because it was so bizarre. Hello, Randy Economy. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you, Charlie?
I'm borderline amazing. This is my first time finally getting to see you at least on camera, and but I've been admiring the work that you've been doing.
Hope you're not disappointed.
I always say that too. Yeah, it's terribly disappointing, isn't it? When he first got elected, first of all, we gave Jerry Brown 4 freaking terms as governor of the state.
Yep.
2 full terms, goes away, then comes back and runs again against Meg Whitman, who I love her or hate her. I don't care. All I know is she had a plan, and it was a good plan, a financial plan to turn the state around, because I've been saying a long time, I don't want politicians running my state or my country anymore.
Yep.
I want business people running it. And Meg Whitman was a great business person. So on her website, she had an entire plan. Here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's how we can turn things around. Then the media went to Jerry Brown and asked him, what's your plan if you become governor? I won't know until I get in there and get to look at things. That was his response. That should have been enough to go, you're out right now. Sit down, shut up, the adults are talking. But no, the media championed Jerry Brown. They went after Meg Whitman because supposedly she fired some illegal once she found out the illegal was illegal. And they turned that into a negative against her. And Jerry Brown won.
Yep.
Not just 1, but 2 terms.
Sure. Welcome to California, Charlie.
I know. And then along comes Gavin Newsom. And I watched what he did in San Francisco. I hated it. I hated how he ruined that once great city. And it hasn't recovered because it's just polluted with leftist, communist crap running the show. But who's to blame for that, Randy Economy? Who's to blame?
Certainly not me. And I'll tell you, I'm working my behind off to make sure that all of us can hold this just one really crappy politician accountable. And I think that's one reason that we
hope so. But I asked that question because collectively, certainly not you and me, but collectively, the state of California put those people in those positions of power.
They did. The people did.
How do we wake up the electorate, especially when you have a whole lot of people, and now with all the illegals here, who are voting thanks to Jerry Brown with his motor voter rule? They're voting.
Yeah.
They're going to keep voting for the freebies coming. And they're certainly not going to vote to get rid of the man who's given them all. They don't care about the ruination of our state. They just flat don't care as long as the freebies keep coming. How do we fight against that, Randy?
We do it what I'm doing, and we do what my team is doing. I have an amazing group of volunteers that have now grown to grown to an army of 11,000 and growing every day during the last 5 weeks. In regards to the launching of an official, hopefully will be the last recall attempt against Governor Newsom.
Please let him be successful.
And I think when you see such a huge mandate and movement of so many people so quick, we're on to something bigger than ourselves. So we've been working on this for about 4 or 5 months. There was a previous recall attempt that just failed against the governor.
Did it fail? I don't know if it failed. I have a feeling because the
No.
night before the election, the night before, Governor Hairdo did a presser, and he's all smiles and giddy almost, and it's like he knew something we didn't.
Well, I think everybody knew inside the established political world here that the recall that just failed a couple of weeks ago legally was not done correctly. It was done with ill intent, and just because you have somebody who wants to do a recall doesn't mean that it's a legitimate.
You're talking about the one that was he was given the news during the whole fire event, right? Somebody else tried to do what you're doing.
That's correct.
Yeah. So that's how many times we've tried to recall this clown.
We've only tried to recall him once, and that was the one that I served as the senior advisor of. There's only been one election to hold him accountable, and that was 3 years ago.
Right.
So
well, I meant to say attempts. How many attempts have there been?
Charlie, I want to make this really clear. There's not been 9 attempts to get this guy out of office. There's been one, and that was the one that was a successful mandate and drive by the people. We had more than 2.2 million of us who signed petitions, stood in front of supermarkets and
I know
shopping
centers. I helped.
Yeah, you did. And we were all on mandatory lockdown because the last thing Gavin wanted to do was have any type of organized opposition against him. So he put us all on house arrest. Well, it didn't work. And so there's only been one successful recall attempt that hit the ballot. There's not 9, there's one. So I want to make that really, really clear. Anybody can file paperwork with the Secretary of State and say, I want to do a recall attempt against the governor. It doesn't make a legitimate recall attempt. So I want to get that really nipped in the bud real quick here.
After it got real close, and I'm quite convinced that it didn't fail. It actually worked. I think there was a lot of fraud and a lot of cheating.
The fraud, Charlie, is that everybody got a ballot at home. Some people got 3 ballots. Some people got 5 ballots. And when you start an all mail-in ballot election, because he put us all under house arrest because of the pandemic, that's when the shenanigans happen. And we knew going in that it was going to be an uphill battle. And he was still at a 52% favorability rating, but that's gone now. His favorability rating is around 24%.
Isn't that the lowest ever? I mean, I think he beat Gray Davis.
Yeah, and Gray Davis, I was a Democrat back then, and Gray was a dear friend. He lived around the corner from me, but Gray had this arrogance of power, exactly like Avon did, and so it's almost like the same thing happening 30 years later than we see right now, and I think that's one thing that we're not only hopeful about, but we're charged, and I think that's why these fires have ignited a political firestorm here in California because of his gross mismanagement, his incompetence, his erratic behavior, which has just been so bizarre. And to be honest with you, Charlie, I don't want to downplay it. It's very disturbing knowing that the chief executive officer of the 5th or 6th largest economy in the world is so erratic and so unstable, and has no plans, no idea, no clue how to get out of this. And the first thing he does is he shows up uninvited to welcome the president of the United States to a press event and a tour that the president was doing last week to the fire at the fire locations. And it was the most bizarre, inappropriate official act I've ever seen a governor here in California do. And you could tell, Gab, you could tell when President Trump was greeting him on the tarmac, he was literally grabbing Newsom's hand and pulling him closer to him. Like, dude, you're way out of your league here. And so I think what we're at right now with this recall is the fact that the time is right. This is the perfect time to make sure that people are energized, they're organized, and we do everything by the actual letter of the law. And so we are working behind the scenes every day with the California Secretary of State's office, which, Gavin Newsom appointed Shirley Weber as the Secretary of State. So we're running against. One of the people who's overseeing our campaign is a hand-appointed Secretary of State of California. She's since been reelected, but it's a very incestuous situation in Sacramento, and I think the only way we're going to change it is to take a hammer to it, and that's what we're doing. And I'm proud of the amazing board of directors that I've assembled, and these are some really incredibly talented people. Most of them have never been involved in a campaign before, and until now, and so that's a plus, that's a strength. But we also have a lot of people who are seasoned veterans. My attorney for the campaign, his name is Ravinder Mehta. He's the former chairman of the California Fair Political Practices Commission, which is the governing body and organization that oversees political corruption in California. So I got the all-star team, and I'd rather stick with the Saving California team as opposed to Team Newsom. So that's kind of just in a nutshell. We should be given the actual green light from the Secretary of State maybe as early as tomorrow, if not maybe Monday. We just got a letter a couple minutes ago, actually, before I jumped on the air with you, Charlie, saying that they have acknowledged everything and they're just doing the final verification of the amount of co-authors that we have for the petition. I think we needed 325, and we had about 520 sign up as official co-authors of the actual and proponents of the recall. So the paperwork's done. We're just waiting for the Secretary of State saying this is a go, and then we'll have exactly 5 months, 160 days, to collect about 1.28 million signatures. So a little less than 1.3 million signatures we'll have to collect in a 5-month period, which is about 8,000 or 9,000 a day. And based upon the enthusiasm that I think we've been able to get and the attention that we're starting to bring to this particular campaign, if we don't collect those 1.3 million signatures in 30 days, I will be absolutely shocked. And I'm also thrilled to announce that one of the leading voices in the world, who is one of the most beloved actors and entrepreneurs and humanitarians, Mel Gibson, has contacted me, and he's all in. And so,
that's awesome news. That is awesome.
So Mel and I have become like best friends in the last month. And like I said, sometimes with fire comes blessings. And Mr. Gibson, he lost everything. So Republicans didn't lose everything in the fire. It was Democrats. It was just Californians. And one of the hardest hit areas was the community of Altadena. Well, that's a predominantly historic Black neighborhood, and tens of thousands of people are now homeless in Altadena, in addition to the Pacific Palisades.
Hey, listen, they got $740 from FEMA. They're good.
It's no, but yeah, let me know how that works out. That's a couple gallons. That's a couple tanks of gas, but they don't have cars anymore because they've all been burnt up in the fire. So it's just,
it is very sad. I'm going to show this is Randy Economy. He's spearheading the recall of Governor Hairdo, recall Gavin Newsom at savingcalifornia.vote, not .com, not .net, .vote, savingcalifornia.vote. But Randy, I want to show anyone who hasn't seen this, because it wasn't on the NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt. And this is another video that good luck finding it now. Very hard to find, because the media is carrying water for the Democrats, especially in California, because I believe these fires down in Los Angeles were not by accident. I don't want to get into that with you. I don't want to get into those weeds, but I really believe now they got the Olympics. They've got the Olympics coming, the Super Bowl and the World Cup soccer games are going to be coming to Los Angeles, and they are so hell bent on this smart city concept. And Governor Hairdo's already been talking and letting stuff out, I think by accident, talking about, these people who want to go back and rebuild and who actually still have insurance because many of their policies were canceled conveniently right before the fire. They're not being allowed to go back in and build. They're not getting permits.
I was talking when I had a wonderful conversation with, like I said, Mel Gibson just last night. We were on the phone, and he says, Randy, I can't even, I don't even want to go to my house. that I've lost everything. I've lost
They won't. They
absolutely.
probably won't let him go to his house. You know that
Well,
that's going on too.
it's very touch and go. And, when it comes to the point where you don't have access to the property that you own and you're the property owner and you've lost everything, who is anybody to say who and can and can't? We're grownups. We understand what the situation is here. Yeah, there's a lot of toxicity. Yeah, there's a lot of contamination. But it's their property. They've lost everything.
Their property, but they won't let him on. So I want you to see. Here's what I want you to see. This is Governor Hairdo being approached by one of the people, the fire victims, and he blatantly.
This woman is absolutely a rock star.
He blatantly lies to her about being on the phone with then President Mumbles. Here we go. Watch this.
Governor, I live here, Governor. That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
I'm sorry. There's literally, I've tried 5 times while I'm walking around to make the call.
Why is the president not taking your call?
Because it's not going through. So
Why?
I have to get cell service.
So let's get it. Let's get it. I want to be here when you call the president.
Literally not taking my call. he's literally not taking my
cell service. We don't have cell service up here. I've tried 5 times. I can't get a hold of the guy. Well, maybe because he's either taking a nap or he doesn't even freaking know who you are anymore.
That is again not on the NBC Nightly News with.
Let me tell you that's a commercial that we're on the cutting room floor right now, dicing it up as the perfect, in his own words, response to the biggest fire tragedy in California. And the other thing too is breaking news, Charlie. As you know, we live in fire country in California. There's a fire every week. There's a fire every month here in this state. That turns out to be some sort of a major disaster or a calamity. So we live in fire country. We live in earthquake country. That's just part of California is a desert I literally live in Palm Desert. And so I get the whole thing in regards to the makeup of California and that what's make this state so amazing and golden and a shining example for the world. But when you have dimwit politicians such as Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass and Rob Bonta, the Attorney General, and on and on and on, you get to the point where you say, how did we get here? And I think the way we got here is that we had an electorate that was asleep at the wheel. And I think the Great Awakening has happened. And again, with fire sometimes comes blessings. And I think the blessings that we're going to get out of this particular fire is it shows the incompetence of the system and the political DNA makeup of Gavin Newsom. And I think that's why when they write his political obituary, and I think we're probably in paragraph number 3 right now of where we're at with his final stanza, this fire will go down emblematic as an inferno of being able to show the incompetency of how bad politicians are and how they just can't handle anything major. If it's not scripted, if it's not in front of a camera, like you said earlier in regards to his press conferences and stuff, if he can't control the narrative, he can't control anything. And so that's why I think
Governor Hairdo impression. Warning, danger, Will Robinson.
Hey, how are you? Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. Listen.
You know what's different? What's different now, though, Randy, from what happened a couple of decades and a half ago when we successfully recalled Gray Davis.
Sure,
Gray Davis.
I was one of Gray's dearest friends, and I lived around.
You mentioned that, but the
Beverly Hills and West Hollywood, and we'd meet at the market every Sunday. And
difference between then and now, though.
The internet. That's the one thing.
Internet is one thing, but
social media.
There was a dominant middle class in California then.
Business
owners, family-run, owned and operated businesses. That has been all but eradicated now, and I don't believe it's by accident. So we now have the elites versus the those who are working for them. Seems to be the goal. And the middle class has either left or been forced out of business and have been ruined. And they're not there to throw common sense into the mix. That's what I believe we're fully up against this time around, trying to get rid of Governor Hairdo. So I pray that the Lord intervenes here and actually makes this happen, because we need justice to be served in this once great state to turn we're heading for a cliff. We may the front wheels may already be off of it. I don't know how we come back, but I think this is a great start. What do you say to conservatives I've been hearing say, oh, this is a waste of time, a waste of money. He only has 2 years left in his term. What difference does it make?
I have been escorted out of Republican headquarters recently, asking them to help us actually get the official co-sponsors of the recall. I didn't know that. I was asked to leave actual Republican Party headquarters, and to me, that's the problem we have in California. We don't have a Republican Party in California.
No,
we have a incredibly weak chairperson. We have a weaker chairperson who's going to be taking over. So we're just changing the chairs.
Hopefully she will.
No. It's already established. So you can't change the political game playing of the Republican Party here in California. And that's a problem. That's why this is not a Republican Party effort. If we had this be a Republican Party effort, we wouldn't get anything accomplished in California, because there's just not enough of them. And so I'm really dead set on saying this is a California thing. This is not a Republican thing. This is not a Democrat thing. This is a California thing. So are there individual Republicans who are supporting us? Absolutely. Are there conservatives supporting us? Absolutely. Are there liberals supporting us? 100%. Because you know what? They've lost everything also in these fires. They lost absolutely everything. So to me, it's not about good things or bad things or right and left. It's about California. And I think if we start taking that approach, even though many of us are of a conservative nature or moderate to conservative nature, but again, our priority is us, all of us here in California. And I think we can play in a big playground together. But I think we need to have that one dynamic leader who can step forward and say, here's the path. Here's the path to be able to go ahead and change. And this is the only path we have right now. And this is that recall. So yes, he's in office for 2 more years. You can do a lot of damage in 2 years, Charlie.
Look what Joe Biden did in 2 weeks.
Look what Gavin Newsom did in 2 weeks with these fires, and his lack of preparedness and his lack of leadership.
I don't believe it was an accident. I don't think that was incompetency. I think that was bad.
I don't know. I don't know all the facts, but I do know that everything that he did was an unmitigated disaster. He didn't even have fire units on standby. Are you kidding me? You're going to have 100-mile-an-hour winds, and it's been forecasted for a week.
Yeah.
And the driest conditions probably in 100 years. And you don't think there's going to be fires in specific locations? We just had the Malibu fire a couple of years ago. Are you kidding me? That was right next door. So it's Gavin is more consumed about his public image, his ability to get on television. But I think right now that's becoming a detriment to him. And so sometimes, Gavin, be careful what you ask for. And being a star is not being a governor. And being a celebrity is not being a leader. And I think right now, that's what we're yearning for. We're yearning for a new opportunity to get a new governor in. And thank goodness we have the legal authority under the state constitution that allows us to be able to hold these constitutional officers, such as the governor, lieutenant governor, members of the state legislature. Thank God we have the ability to recall them at any particular time for whatever reason.
Although they tried to change the rules to make it much more difficult, didn't they? After that,
they did, and I think the main rule that they said is instead of having 50 people be the principal authors of the recall, you need 350 now. And so we said, okay, we'll adhere to that rule that was basically changed 6 months ago. which makes it a little bit more difficult. But we got 500 people to go ahead and to sign our affidavits and do we one-upped them. And so that's right now. Like I said, I just got a note from the Secretary of State's office, and everything is in the final approval process right now, and it's all being verified. So we're excited about that. And
this is Randy Economy spearheading the recall of Governor Hairdo for 2025. I pray it is successful. I pray I'll do everything I can to help, and because we need to make if nothing else, a statement. And I'll tell you what, if we can impeach him, that will make sure that clown never runs for president of the United States. But
I think we're doing the United States a huge favor. I think we're doing.
So do I. So do I.
I think we're doing the world a bigger favor. By
I'm sure that Randy has already seen this, but just in case you haven't, Governor Hairdo agreed to go on Adam Carolla's show.
Adam's one of my dearest friends. Yeah.
Really, I love that guy. Watch this. Watch this.
Half of African Americans in the state of California, roughly half of Latino families, have no access to a checking account or an ATM. Things we take for granted. They don't have a checking account.
What's wrong with it?
Well, because they don't have the resources to sock those things away.
Why do we have them?
A lot of different reasons, but roughly half those families don't.
Why those two groups don't have access?
Well, a lot of it just happens to be that we can talk about.
Flawed?
No, they're hardly flawed, but they're struggling.
Genetically
making
flawed.
Their word. Hardly, not absolutely.
But do Asians have this problem?
I mean, a lot of communities have. A lot of whites have these problems.
Oh, so that's not just black and Hispanic.
No, but
why did you bring up black and Hispanic?
Because the magnitude is ominous.
There's so many more.
The magnitude and percentage.
But there's no way to figure out how that happened.
My absolute biggest frustration with the Democrats and dishonest politicians in general is they throw things out and say this is fact, but never even back it up. Half of blacks and Latinos don't have a checking account and don't have access to an ATM. Half the population who are Hispanic and black can't have those things or don't have those things.
I think technically he could be onto something because he just let 2 million illegals over the border. And half of them don't even have identification cards. So maybe technically he's a little bit right.
Technically,
but again,
all right, okay.
He might be onto something, but he's caused the problem. I mean, they didn't come over here by accident. They didn't flock to California. He was so excited a couple of weeks ago. He goes, "You're not going to believe this. We've had a population boom in California. We've picked up 2 million more residents. 2 million more residents have come to California and are moving in." Well, because they shouldn't be here in the first place.
And nobody from the media called him on that.
I called him on it, and a lot of other people did too. But again,
good for you.
I think the great thing is that, Charlie, you're the media right now. I'm doing a wonderful media interview right now with a very respected journalist, and I don't think we can underestimate what we do when we have that microphone in front of us. And your 50,000 watts of power is just as important as a radio station and any other place. And a lot of these individual traditional AM talk radio shows, they're dying, they're dead. So I think the state of the media has changed dramatically, and I think that's a real positive. And it's just as more important to be able to sit down and have an in-depth discussion with you as it is to sit down and have an in-depth discussion with somebody at Fox News or CNN. And I have a great rapport with both of those individual groups. So I think you're onto something pretty cool here. Keep up the great work, and I think this is the wave of the future. And you nailed it, buddy.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that very much.
You're welcome so much.
Randy Economy, I didn't even ask you anything about you personally. We dove right into Governor Hairdo. Is Economy your real last name? Because I've never heard anybody with the last name of Economy.
Well, it's funny. My grandfather came over here when he was 14 from Greece and got on a boat like so many of our ancestors did from the early America, from the late 1800s to the early 1900s, when they were making that transatlantic trip for the first time. And it was a mysterious thing where they went into a place called Ellis Island, and it was the immigration checkpoint to the gateway to America. it wasn't a bad thing. It was, we welcomed everybody with open arms right there underneath the Statue of Liberty, literally. So I when my grandfather came over, his name was Vasily Okonomo, and spoke very little English, if anything. And he went through the immigration process there at Ellis Island, and this immigration worker, before they issued him his temporary pass to come into the United States, says, "Do you want an American name?" And everybody wanted an American name, but you couldn't just give them a name. The immigration department had to give you a name. So he looked at the card and he goes, Vasily Okonomo, how would you like to be William Economy? And so that sounded pretty good to my grandfather. So they agreed right then and there that would be his name would be William Economy. And so
he could have literally just been looking at something that had the word economy on it.
Yeah. And the thing is that he wrote it down. He wrote it down. My grandfather, so grandfather had his name and he knew where he was. And he had one cousin that had already been in New York City. So he went on a trek to find his other cousin. He found him. So that's how we got our family heritage. And
the economies.
It's the economies. Yeah. So
the economy plan.
I treasured the name and I treasured the story because my story.
Yeah, that's a good story. That's kind of like me with Simons. When they came over from France, they said, "Yeah, you're Simons," but it was Simone's.
Yeah.
But
very French, Charlie. Very French.
Very French. You also said that you used to be a Democrat, as I affectionately call them. What's that story?
Was, guilty,
when did you turn around? How did you start? How did you go from?
I had a really bad drug addiction. I got into trouble, and the only way I could turn my life around was to turn it over to Jesus. And so I got baptized and confirmed and became a member of the Catholic faith within a 30-day period. I can't even believe that I went from nothing to a full-fledged Christian with all the blessings and the benefits in just 30 days. And I think it was pretty much a record.
And the trials is definitely not all.
It's not. Listen.
Rainbows and roses.
Yeah, it's not. But it worked for me. And not only did it work for me, I was able to give back immediately and helped establish the first Narcotics Anonymous program with the Catholic Diocese in Los Angeles County because of my addiction at the time. And I helped literally tens of thousands of addicts for years behind the scenes. And
that's awesome.
And I think that's pretty cool. And so I have God on my side. I'm not perfect. I'm legally blind. I can't see hardly anything anymore. I don't drive. I don't even have a driver's license.
I did not know that either.
Yeah. And so I had a very, very, I had a virus in my retina that made me go blind completely in my right eye and took 60% of my vision in my left eye. So sometimes when you get just one eye, you become a pirate. And I became the political pirate. And there's a lot of online stories and huge articles and magazines like Mother Jones, for God's sakes. And so, Mother Jones, when I was a little kid, I'd read Mother Jones to learn how to do drugs, and so.
Yeah, exactly. And Rolling
I think we all did, Charlie, but you know what I mean? Maybe you didn't, but I think a lot of us did.
I do know what you mean.
Okay. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell. And I know the governor has tried many, many times in the past to mock me with some of my past flaws. And I just kind of laugh because this isn't about me. It's about us. And it's about California, and it's about people like us, Charlie, who are tired of just becoming a victim from the system. And when you become a victim of Gavin Newsom, it becomes devastating. So I'm not intimidated by the guy. I think he's more intimidated by me than I am of him. So we're going to see. Again, we're working our butts off to get this thing done. Thank God for Mel Gibson being by my side now. He says, I'll run interference for you in the front. So Mel and I are going to be doing a press conference, maybe as early as Monday, announcing.
That's tremendous.
Yeah. And I think we're going to have other people like maybe Adam Carolla and maybe James Woods. And I know that President Trump is very aware of what we're doing here. And because Mr. Gibson has told him personally. I mean, Mr. Gibson just got a great ambassadorship. He's now the official ambassador to Hollywood. which is for the first time they've never had anybody to actually work out within outside the entertainment industry. And the entertainment industry is the biggest industry in California, believe it or not, along with
producer of propaganda.
Yeah, but there's all forms of entertainment, and I think if we can continue to bring some stability and just some awareness, which we're doing right now, it's all the better. So I'm creating the vehicle to really help save California, and that's why we call our organization SavingCalifornia.vote, because we don't take this lightly. I mean, we're very serious at what we're doing, and
there's tremendous costs incurred. I've become good friends with Mike Netter and Orrin Heatley, who successfully. The only time it actually made it onto the ballot.
Yeah, I worked for Orrin. Orrin hired me as I was the only paid employee on the entire staff. I was the senior advisor and the media spokesperson. I think him and Mike were able to generate maybe 3 or 4 stories prior to them hiring me. And by the time I was done, I did 2,700 media interviews. So I have a lot of respect for Orrin. Tremendous respect for Orrin, and I think Orrin's been a treasured friend, and I trust Orrin Heatley. I really do.
He's a good gentleman. They both put in $500 each. They had $1,000 to get the whole thing going. It doesn't, and why I bring this up is Randy and this group could use our help financially too. I'm quite sure. He hasn't asked me to say this. He hasn't asked me to promote this at all. I just know. I know the costs incurred. Things don't happen for free. You got to be able to get to events. You got to rally people. There's mailing costs. There's so many costs, and they're bankrolling this themselves. Why? What's in it for them? Well, maybe the satisfaction of a job well done. Maybe that.
I think the other thing
maybe
too
actually
is
saving our state. Maybe they're that dedicated to the place that we were born and raised, and we want to rescue.
I'm kind of dual diagnosed. I work professionally in politics. When I was a little kid, my mother was one of the first trailblazing women in America to do fundraising at the presidential level. And I remember when I was a mere child, I'd come home from school and Jimmy Carter would be in my backyard. And I just thought that's what happened with every family. And I didn't realize at the time how unusual that was. And, at the time, Jimmy Carter was, he was the anti-corruption guy, and he was the alternative to Watergate and this and that. But he was a pretty freaking conservative Democrat, to be honest with you. And so when my mother raised all that money for him, and they took every penny that they raised here in California and sent it to Michigan and Ohio, and that's how he became president and beat Gerald Ford. So my mother passed away actually 3.5 weeks ago, and so God rest her soul. And one of the last memories I have of my mother is the morning of Mr. President Carter's funeral. I was at my house here, and she was already in a coma, and I can't believe I'm telling the story. But the television was just blasting in her room, and I'm going, it's like 6:30 in the morning. What's going on? And I walked into her room. She was already in a coma, and it was the beginning of the Carter funeral, and it was on full blast. So I don't know how it happened.
Who else would have turned that on and turned it up but her?
Yeah, somebody did. And I know that I looked and I said, where is the remote control? And it was completely on the other side of the room. So it was
somebody else did it then.
Somebody else did it, and it wasn't me. So, but all I know is that was a magical moment. And then she passed a few days later and had an amazing celebration of life just a couple of weeks ago. And I'm just so inherently blessed that I was her son and was exposed to politics and politicians when I was a little kid. I mean, including Jerry Brown and Tom Bradley and Mike Antonovich and Democrats and Republicans and, on and on and on. So, I'm just blessed. So I think she's given me the courage to say, let's get this bastard. And one of those last words she said before going into coma was, you got to get this SOB out of office, Randy. This is your only chance. So I think I have an angel.
You were saying that about Governor Hairdo.
Governor Hairdo, yeah.
So she became a conservative then later in life.
She did, yeah, just like me. And, I guess you could say we were dual diagnosed at one time. But, yeah, no, we have we've kind of saw the light, so to speak, and
that's awesome, buddy. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
She's either Republican.
That's awesome. It's a pleasure meeting you and hearing your story. And the best thing I can recommend to you is to actually go to the website, read the things they have. It's a good website. Again,
the petition will be on the website hopefully as early as next Monday or Tuesday.
Good.
As soon as we get it from the Secretary of State, and all you're going to have to do is just download and sign it and mail it in. It's real simple.
Well,
real simple.
Good. Just okay.
I'm going to keep it simple, stupid, and and take it from there. So,
savingcalifornia.vote. Not .com, not .net, vote. There you go. Savingcalifornia.vote is the best place to get started. And let's make this happen.
We're making it happen, Charlie. Come on, man. Let's get it done.
Absolutely. All right, my friend. Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure and a blessing getting to meet you.
This is really a lot of fun, man. Let me know when I'm here for you 24/7, man.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. And I appreciate you sharing this show. That's another great thing you can do. Share on your social media platforms, not for my benefit, but for the cause. SavingCalifornia.vote needs to get out there. People need to be getting involved. And it starts with educating yourself. So I recommend you go there. Please check it out right now. In fact, turn this show off and go. Well, wait, first, let me say goodbye. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America. But most importantly, America bless God